I have a feeling you clicked on this video because either A, you're tired of getting your cheeks zerged to oblivion, or B, you want to play Sorc without a hardened ward. Well, welcome to the true meta Stamsorc. Timestamps are in the description, feel free to skip to any part you need to. In this video we're going to talk about what makes Stamsorc so damn good right now. And then we'll be going over the meta gear, we'll touch on the best skills you can run on Stamsorc, and lastly, champion points and tips for playing the class. If you find this video helpful, remember to like and subscribe, and let's get cooking now, shall we? So, let's talk a little bit about why Stamsorc is one of the strongest outnumbered classes right now, just in general. One of the big things that's happened to ESO in the last few patches is that dots and pressure is a lot weaker now. With the addition of scribing as well, a lot of the rough edges that Sorc has really been ironed out. One of the best skills on Stamsorc, and why I think it's still on top, is the streak skill. Whichever morph you go with for this really defines your build. A lot of dual wield or aggressive playstyles tend to go with streak, and the more conservative tanky playstyles go with ball of lightning. In my opinion, I think right now ball of lightning is the way to go. Especially if you're using a two-hander, it is so good. It was a massive game changer for me. Getting into the stats here, we have 6100 weapon damage, 32% spell crit. Our crit resistance, which is one of the main focuses of this build, is around 4200 fully buffed, which is pretty huge. And for regen, we sit at 1800 mag regen and 2400 stam recovery. And lastly, the crit damage is around 18%, and the penetration is around 7000. Overall, we have a lot of just general stats. In terms of Mundastone, currently I have the Serpent on since I'm mostly stam focused. You can also put on Atronach if you want more dark deals, and you can put on Lady if you're feeling a little squishy. There is no best race for this kind of build. You can go whichever race you like. Currently I am a Dark Elf for some flame resistance, extra mag and stam, and some weapon damage. My next best choice would be Orc. Orc gives you extra speed and a bunch of extra damage, which is really nice. On the front bar we got the Vatran Maul. I have a Berserker enchant on this, it's in Sharpened. This is one of the best arena weapons in the game right now. For a two-handed build, it's basically a necessity. It'll give you up to 300 weapon damage to stack, and when you do a heavy attack, it'll do a giant burst, which really helps your damage. On the back bar, this is the meta Sorc. We're running a meta set. This is Rallying Cry, Sword and Shield. What I was saying before with the changes to dots and the changes to burst, crits and burst matter a lot more than dot pressure right now. You usually won't die to dot pressure anymore. It'll really just be those big fat crits. On the body, I've got Wretched Vitality. This set, honestly, has been used for a long time. You could also put this on the back bar if you don't want to run Rallying Cry. It's one of my favorite sets. You can use it on any class, it gives you a ton of regen, which lets you build damage elsewhere. It just really lets you have that sustain you need when you're getting your ass served. For the one piece monster, I've got Nibene in Heavy and Well Fitted. This gives you 410 crit resist on the one piece, which is really strong for a one piece set. In terms of weights and traits for the gear, I run 4 medium, 2 heavy, and 1 light. I like to have a good mix of Impen and Well Fitted. I'm also running a mythic on this build. I'm running the Saint and Seducer mythic, infused weapon damage. Basically, while in combat, you get 1 of 5 random buffs, and all of these are really strong. You can get Major Berserk, Major Resolve, Major Force, Major Evasion, Major Courage. All of these are basically as strong as a monster set. It's a very strong and stat-dense mythic. It's not the most consistent, to be honest. And also, if you don't want to run a mythic, which is totally understandable, you could just run a monster set here, like a 2-piece Nibene, and then put on a Rallying Cry necklace. We have Rallying Cry on the jewelry, 3 Swift, or 2 Swift and 1 Infuse if you want. So getting into the skills, in my opinion this matters more than the gear. The skills really make your playstyle, and there's a couple skills that I find are irreplaceable on Sorc. So first skill is Executioner. It's your two-handed execute. It's pretty straightforward, you really need an execute if you're running two-hander. Next skill is Rally. This will give you Major Brutality. It'll give you Minor Endurance, which is a very nice buff. The heal is also pretty good on it. Next skill is a Flex Spot. I'm using Ulfsild's Shocking Contingency. The reason why I'm using this right now is it'll do 7k shock damage. It'll do an extra 2000 around you, so it's more like 9k. And it'll give me Major Savagery for 10 seconds. We're in a lot of medium, we have a lot of general stats, and we need to be able to crit to kill people. Like I said before, crit is what kills me, well then crit must be what kills my enemies. So we need some crit as well. In terms of other skills you can run, Crystal Frags is an obvious one. This will hit extremely hard, way harder than Ulfsile on a single target. You can also run Haunting Curse. Haunting Curse isn't bad. Next skill is Hurricane. This is on the front bar to give us some extra damage. It also just feels nice to have this on the front bar. Not sure why. This will give you minor expedition and your armor buff, which is really strong. Next skill is Dizzying Swing. This is your main spammable. It'll set people off balance. If you heavy attack an off balance person, you get extra resources, so that's a good tip to keep in mind. This is your main stun on the build, and you have to use this basically because you have Ball of Lightning. For your ultimate, Dawnbreaker of Smiting is kind of a no-brainer. On the back bar, first skill, again we have another scribing skill here. This is Healing Soul. What this skill does is it'll heal one person for a burst heal amount. It'll also give you a heal over time and major vitality, which is really, really good. The one weakness Sorc has is it doesn't really have a viable burst heal. You have Dark Deal of course, but you can get interrupted while casting Dark Deal. And if you get interrupted while doing that, not only are you not getting healed, but you're stunned. And you'll wind up dying a lot on Sorc because of just that little feature right there. Like I said before with scribing, ironing out all the rough edges with Sorc, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Healing Soul is your new burst heal, and it is really strong. Major vitality on a burst heal and a heal over time, really, really good. Next up, Ball of Lightning. For me, I think this is better than Street Hands Down. I could rant about it for a long time, but if you haven't run this, you need to give it a try. Dark Deal. This is also really good. Gives you Minor Berserk and Minor Force, which is kind of new to this skill. It was added a few patches ago. The reason why the Minor Berserk and Minor Force change is important is because you don't need Race Against Time on Sorc, because this gives you the Minor Force. Ball of Lightning will give you immunity to snares, which is really good. And Minor Berserk comes from a skill called Camo Hunter, which a lot of people use. Camo Hunter gives you crit and Minor Berserk. Well, we have crit on Ulfsile. We have Minor Berserk from Dark Deal. So technically this saves us a bar slot. We don't need to run Camo Hunter anymore. Next skill, this is also sort of a flex bot, but not really. It's like a heavily suggested slot. Revealing Flare. For me, I find this makes my Sorc so much tankier. Like, very, very noticeably tankier. While slotted, you gain major protection. Pretty straightforward. When you're on the back bar, you are just way tankier. Last skill we have is Resolving Vigor. This is your self-heal. Pretty straightforward, most classes run this. And for the ultimate for the back bar, I am running Spell Wall. Even on DK, if I'm running Corrosive or something, I would feel stronger with Sword Immortal. This thing is so strong. Blocking all attacks for 6 seconds basically makes you invincible. And on Sorc, if you're kiting an entire Zerg, it's likely there's going to be tons of projectiles being thrown at you, attacks all the time. This will block everything for free. This saved my ass I don't know how many times already, and I haven't even been using it that long. The whole reason I have Sword and Board on this build is to use this ult. I'm basically giving up a Berserker enchant with Ice Staff on the back and a damage glyph on the front just to use this ult. It is that strong, and I believe in it that hard. And that basically covers it for the skill. Going into champion points really quick, I got Master at Arms, Wrathful Strikes, Ironclad, and Duelist Rebuff. If you want to, you can change out Wrathful Strikes for Weapons Expert. If you want more damage on lights and heavies, for dueling usually that's recommended. And your heavy attacks hit pretty hard. For the red tree, we got Celerity, Survival Instincts, Pain's Refuge, and Sustained by Simping. If you really want to as well, since we have Wretched, you could swap out Sustained by Simping for Refreshing Stride, or Juggernaut, or Fortified. So in terms of playing this build in this class, there's two big things that people need to learn to really maximize how well you can do on this build. The first being the fact that you can block while using Ball of Lightning. This simple thing is extremely important, because not only are you making huge distance, but you're blocking the entire time. If you're fighting a big group of people, this is game changing. Sure, your Ball of Lightning will absorb one projectile, but there's going to be another 5 or 10 coming at you. And the fact that you can block all of them will mean that you actually will live. The other big tip is how to actually get your damage combo off on somebody. And what does the maximum amount of burst on this build really look like? First thing you need to do, hit Dark Deal, make sure you have Minor Force and Minor Berserk. Next thing you need to do, make sure you de-swing them so they are off balance, that way they're vulnerable. Pop your Ulf Siles, make sure Vate's stacked up, and Heavy Attack Dawnbreaker. As well, in that combo, if you don't want to go for a heavy attack, you can always just pop another D-swing and that'll still stun them. So, I think that should cover everything you guys need to know about making and running this build. Stamsorc, honestly, is one of the strongest classes in the game right now. If you want to hop into Cyrodiil and fight groups, this build is your best bet. If you learned something and you found this video helpful, consider dropping a like and a sub. I'd greatly appreciate it. And good luck out there in Cyrodiil. I hope this build does you the justice that it deserves.